Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving deep into something really special in the world of rum.
Ooh, I do love a good rum.
Ron Sostenible is the name, and we're going to be looking specifically at their 16-year-old La Isabela rum.
I've heard good things.
Our source material for this deep dive is a blog post by rum blogger Jan Ohrt.
Nice.
And trust me, it's a lot more than just your typical rum review. We're talking about sustainability, a dash of mystery, and of course, a real taste adventure.
Sounds intriguing.
So Ron Sostenible is the brainchild of a guy named Bintu Singh, the founder of a company called A Clean Spirit.
Okay.
And here's where things get really interesting. Bintu's background is actually in the shipping industry.
Oh, wow.
But he's also a huge rum enthusiast. So he decided to kind of combine these two passions and create a rum brand that is dedicated to sustainability every step of the way.
That's quite the combination.
It really is. And just to give you an idea of how serious they are about sustainability, Ron Sostenible actually transports their rum all the way from the Dominican Republic to Europe on a ship called the Tres Hombres.
Okay.
And get this, it's a 1943 cargo ship powered entirely by wind.
Whoa, hold on. Entirely by wind.
Well, they do have a backup generator, of course, just in case.
Right, makes sense.
But the fact that they prioritize wind power for transport, I mean, it really says a lot about their commitment to the environment, doesn't it?
For sure, for sure. It paints a pretty romantic image, too, doesn't it? You know, like the journey powered by nature.
Yeah, totally. It really takes you back to a time when, well, you know, when things moved a little bit slower, more deliberately.
I like that. Slower, more deliberate.
And speaking of journeys, this first voyage with the rum, it actually ran into a few hiccups along the way. They faced some illness on board and an unplanned stop in the Azores.
Oh, no.
It just goes to show that even the best laid plans can encounter, you know, a few unexpected twists and turns.
It happens.
And that brings us to the source of this rum, the La Isabela distillery in the Dominican Republic.
The Dominican Republic, nice.
And this place has a history almost as colorful as the rum itself. It was actually shut down by the Dominican government for a period of time.
Oh, why is that?
Apparently their Angel's share, that's the amount of rum that evaporates during aging, was suspiciously high.
Suspiciously high, huh? Interesting.
Makes you wonder if maybe a little too much was disappearing, you know, through, shall we say, unofficial channels.
Could be, could be. So we've got this rum arriving in Europe after this epic wind-powered journey, and it's coming from a distillery with a bit of a mysterious past. The big question now is, how does it actually taste?
Right. Like, what are we dealing with here?
Well, according to our rum blogger, Jan Ohrt, the aroma alone is quite captivating. He describes it as having these notes of old bourbon barrels, brown sugar, tropical fruit, black pepper, and even, get this, a hint of funky esters.
Funky esters. That's a term I've heard before, but I wouldn't mind a little refresher. What exactly are esters, and how do they affect a rum's taste?
Sure. So esters, they're these organic compounds that form during the fermentation and aging of rum. And they're actually responsible for a wide range of those fruity and floral aromas and flavors that you often get in rum.
Oh, okay, I see.
And the specific types of esters that develop, they depend on a lot of different factors. The yeast used, the fermentation temperature, even the type of barrels used for aging, it all plays a part.
Interesting.
And in the case of Ron Sostenible, those tropical aging conditions probably contribute to a pretty unique ester profile. You know, giving it those distinctive tropical fruit notes that Jan was talking about.
Right, so it's really like all these different elements are working together. The ingredients, the fermentation process, that tropical climate, the aging, they all come together to create this whole symphony of flavors.
A symphony, I like that.
It's fascinating how much actually goes into crafting a really unique rum.
I know, right? It's a complex process. But I think that's also part of what makes it so intriguing. And in the case of Ron Sostenible, it sounds like they've managed to strike this really nice balance between sustainability and flavor.
Yeah. And Jan actually made a point of saying that this rum, it isn't just about being eco-friendly, it's also a high-quality product made with real skill and care.
That's important. It's like they're challenging the idea that eco-friendly options always have to compromise on, on quality or taste.
Exactly. Which brings me to this. Apparently, there are 6 other expressions of Ron Sostenible out there.
6? Wow.
6 other rums to discover. It really makes you want to, dive deeper into their offerings and see what they've got.
I'm curious about that. What are your thoughts on them having so many different options, especially with such a focus on sustainability?
Well, to me, it shows that they're not just focused on one thing. They're dedicated to this idea of craftsmanship. They want to offer a variety of taste experiences. but all while staying true to their sustainable practices.
It's like they're saying, hey, we could do both.
Right, exactly. And it suggests that they're constantly experimenting, pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the world of sustainable rum production.
I like that, pushing the boundaries.
Now, I'm curious about the La Isabela distillery itself. We know it was shut down at one point, but it's under new management now, right?
Yeah, that's right. And from what I gather, this new management is taking a completely different approach. They're emphasizing sustainability, ethical treatment of employees, and minimizing their environmental impact, the whole package.
It's a pretty stark contrast to what was happening before, right?
Yeah, for sure. It makes you wonder, though, what exactly are they doing beyond just using wind-powered transportation? What other sustainable practices have they implemented?
That's a great question. Unfortunately, our source material doesn't really delve into the specifics. But given their overall philosophy, I wouldn't be surprised if they're also prioritizing things like responsible sourcing for their sugarcane, making sure that the people growing it are treated fairly, and maybe even implementing things like water conservation efforts or using renewable energy sources at the distillery itself.
Right, makes sense. It seems like a company that's so dedicated to sustainability in one area would logically extend those values to other parts of their operation.
Okay, so we've talked about the journey, the distillery, their commitment to sustainability, but now I want to get to the heart of it all. The different expressions of Ron Sostenible. What makes each one special? What can you tell us about their lineup?
Well, they've got a range from younger rums to, of course, their flagship 16-year-old. They also have some white rums and even a few that have been finished in different types of casks, which I think is really cool because it's going to add some really interesting layers of flavor.
Ooh, that sounds exciting. So you've got this variety of ages and finishes, and it's like they're really playing with those possibilities, aren't they? Exploring different ways to create a range of rums that cater to different tastes, but always within that framework of sustainability.
Exactly. It's a reminder that sustainability doesn't have to be limiting.
Yeah,
It can actually spark creativity and innovation.
I like that. So let's break down some of these different expressions. Starting with their younger rums, what can we expect from those in terms of flavor?
Well, generally speaking, with rum, the younger ones tend to showcase more of those vibrant, fruity characteristics that you typically associate with Dominican rum. So think like bright tropical fruit notes and a lighter body.
Makes sense. And as we move up the age scale, what kind of changes do we typically see in the flavor profile, especially when we get to their 16-year-old La Isabela, the one we're focusing on today?
As rum ages, it spends more time interacting with the wood of the barrel. So that leads to kind of a mellowing out of those initial bright flavors, and you start to see more complex notes developing, like vanilla, spice, dried fruit.
Ooh, those sound amazing.
A 16-year-old rum, especially one that's been aged in a tropical climate, it's likely to have a really rich, layered flavor profile with a nice, long, smooth finish.
Yeah, I can almost taste it now.
And that's where those funky esters that we talked about earlier, those really come into play. I imagine after 16 years, those flavors have had plenty of time to develop and become even more pronounced.
And don't forget about the type of barrel used for aging. That plays a significant role too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Did Jan mention what kind of barrels Ron Sostenible uses for aging?
Let's see. Ah, yes.
Yeah.
He says that the 16-year-old La Isabela was aged in ex-bourbon barrels.
Ex-bourbon. Interesting. So I would guess you'd probably get some of those classic bourbon notes coming through in the rum, like vanilla, caramel, maybe even a hint of spice.
That's so cool. It's fascinating how just the choice of barrel can have such a huge impact on the final flavor profile. It's almost like each barrel has its own unique story to tell, right? And that story gets woven into the rum as it ages.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's a collaboration, isn't it? Between the distiller, the environment, and even the wood of the barrel itself.
Totally. All working together to create something truly special. And that makes me even more curious about their other expressions. We know they have at least 7 different rums, and they've experimented with different cask finishes. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that involves?
So cask finishing, this is where things get really fun. Imagine you've got rum that's been aged in one type of barrel, let's say an ex-bourbon barrel. Then you take it and you transfer it to a different kind of barrel for a final bit of aging.
Okay.
And the second barrel could be anything. Sherry casks, port casks, even cognac casks. And each type of wood imparts its own unique flavors to the rum.
So it's like adding another dimension of flavor, another brush stroke to that flavor painting.
Exactly. For example, finishing a rum in a sherry cask can often add these rich notes of dried fruit, nuts, and spice.
Ooh, that sounds good.
While a port cask might introduce some sweetness, hints of chocolate, a more velvety texture. It's a way for distillers to really fine-tune the flavor profile and create something totally unique.
It sounds like Ron Sostenible is really embracing that experimentation, figuring out how to create this whole range of rums that appeal to all different tastes, but without ever losing sight of that core commitment to sustainability.
It's a good reminder that sustainability doesn't have to be limiting. It can be, like we said, a source of inspiration and creativity.
I love that. Now, I'm curious about the price point. Are these rums considered premium or are they more accessible to, the average rum enthusiast?
Well, based on the prices mentioned in Jan's post,
Mm.
at least for those 15 and 16-year-old expressions, they are definitely positioned as premium rums. But remember, they also have younger expressions, which are probably more affordable. So it seems like they're trying to offer a range of options for different budgets.
That's good to know. It makes those premium expressions feel even more special, knowing they're crafted with such care and attention to detail. But it's also nice that they're giving people a chance to experience the brand at different price points.
It speaks to their commitment to making sustainable, high-quality rum available to a wider audience, not just, a select few.
I like that. Okay, so we've talked about the flavor, the production, but I want to go back to that wind-powered journey on the Tres Hombres. It's such a unique aspect of their story, isn't it? Have you ever sailed before?
I can't say that I have, not across the Atlantic on a tall ship anyway. I can only imagine what it must be like for those 15 crew members. That sense of adventure, the connection to the elements.
It must be incredible. It's like a journey back in time, a reminder of a slower pace of life. It really makes you appreciate the time and the effort that goes into bringing us something like this rum.
It definitely adds a certain romanticism to the brand, I think.
For sure. It's more than just the taste. It's the entire experience, the way it's transported, the values it represents. Okay, we've talked about the Tres Hombres, but what about the distillery itself, the conditions at La Isabela? How do the climate and the environment influence the rum-making process?
Well, the Dominican Republic, it's got the perfect climate for producing rum. The warm temperatures, high humidity, fertile soil, it all contributes to the development of those really rich, flavorful sugarcane varieties that are essential for good rum.
Wow, so even the environment itself plays a part in shaping the final product.
Exactly. It's like the island is lending its essence to the rum.
And that tropical climate, it also affects the aging process, right?
Oh, definitely. Rum matures faster in warmer temperatures.
Okay.
So those flavors, they develop more quickly and intensely. That's why you often find Dominican rums with those big, bold, fruity profiles, even at younger ages.
That makes sense. It's amazing how all these environmental factors come into play. Now, I'm curious about the social impact of Ron Sostenible. We've talked about their sustainability and their ethical practices, but do we know anything about how they support the communities where their sugarcane is grown and the rum is produced?
Unfortunately, our source material doesn't really go into specifics about their social initiatives.
Okay.
But considering their dedication to sustainability, I think it's safe to assume that they prioritize fair trade practices, supporting local farmers, and investing in the well-being of their employees and the surrounding communities.
Yeah, it's like a ripple effect, right? Their commitment to sustainability likely extends outward, creating a positive impact on the whole ecosystem around them.
It's a great way to think about it, something to consider as you explore this brand further.
This deep dive has really been eye-opening for me. It's made me realize that sustainable spirits, it's not just about eco-friendly practices. It's a whole philosophy, a way of thinking about the products we consume and how they impact the world around us.
It's about making choices that align with our values. And in the case of Ron Sostenible, those values seem to go beyond just environmental responsibility. It's about ethical production and social good as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't hurt that the rum itself sounds delicious. I'm definitely adding Ron Sostenible to my list to try. Which one do you think I should start with? I'm feeling adventurous.
Ooh, that's a good question. If you're looking for a real taste adventure, I'd say go for one of their cask-finished expressions. It would be a great way to experience how those different wood influences can transform the flavor.
Okay, cask finished it is. Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to touch on something we mentioned earlier. The idea that Ron Sostenible is challenging that notion that sustainable options have to be, boring or less luxurious.
They're showing us that sustainability can be exciting. It can be innovative. It's not about sacrificing quality or enjoyment. It's about making choices that actually enhance those things.
I love that. They've really created a brand that tells a compelling story, from the wind-powered journey to the ethically sourced sugarcane and their dedication to craftsmanship. It's a story that really resonates with people who are looking for something more than just a drink. They're looking for an experience that aligns with their values.
It's powerful, for sure. It shows that consumers are becoming more aware. They care about the impact their choices have. And brands like Ron Sostenible, they're responding to that. They're creating products that are good for the planet and are still enjoyable.
Right. It's like they're saying, you can have your rum and drink it too and feel good about it.
Well said. And it's a message that's catching on. More and more people are paying attention. The demand for sustainable products is growing. And I think brands that ignore that demand are going to be left behind.
It's not just about doing the right thing anymore. It's good business sense.
Exactly. Sustainability isn't some niche market anymore. It's becoming mainstream.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing for everyone. Producers, consumers, and the planet as a whole.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, last question for you. We've talked a lot about Ron Sostenible and their practices, but I'm thinking bar picture now. What are your thoughts on the future of sustainable spirits? Is this a trend that's here to stay, or do you think it's just a passing fad?
Oh no, I truly believe it's here to stay. Consumer demand for transparency and ethical production. It's only going to grow. People are realizing how interconnected everything is. They want to support brands that reflect their own values.
So it's not just a trend, it's a real shift in how we think about consumption.
You got it. And it's not just spirits either. We're seeing it everywhere.
Yeah.
Fashion, food, technology. Consumers are making their voices heard through their choices, and they're choosing sustainability.
I love that. Okay, one final thought to leave you with. If you were to create your own sustainable spirit brand, what would be your top priorities? What values would you want to embody?
That's a good one. It makes you think, doesn't it? For me, it would be all about transparency, letting people know exactly where everything comes from and how it's made, ethical sourcing, making sure everyone involved is treated fairly, and giving back to the community. Those would be my pillars.
I love that. It's about creating a brand that's not just about enjoying a drink, but also about making a positive impact on the world.
Exactly. Wouldn't it be great if that impact went beyond just the environment, if it included social justice, economic empowerment?
Absolutely. It's a holistic approach to sustainability where everybody wins.
No, that's a vision worth working towards.
I couldn't agree more. Well, I think we've officially reached the bottom of our deep dive on Ron Sostenible. What a journey it's been.
It really has. I've enjoyed exploring this brand with you.
I've learned so much about sustainable spirits, and I'm inspired to seek out more brands that are really making a difference.
And remember, every choice we make as consumers, it matters. So let's choose wisely. Let's support those brands that are doing things right.
Cheers to that. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Ron Sostenible.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
Yeah, I can almost taste it myself.
Now, I'm curious about the social impact of Ron Sostenible. We've talked about their commitment to sustainability, their ethical practices, but do we know anything about how they support the communities where their sugarcane is grown and their rum is produced?
Unfortunately, our source material doesn't really delve into the specifics of their social initiatives.
Oh, okay.
But I think given their overall dedication to, sustainability, it's reasonable to assume that they probably prioritize fair trade practices, making sure that they're supporting local farmers and investing in the well-being of their employees and the community surrounding the distillery.
Right. It's like that ripple effect. Their commitment to sustainability kind of extends outward, creating a positive impact on the entire ecosystem around them.
That's a great way to put it. It's definitely something to think about as you further explore this brand and maybe do some more research. This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the world of sustainable spirits. I'm starting to see that it's not just about eco-friendly practices. It's really like a whole philosophy, right? A way of thinking about the products we consume and the impact they have on the world around us.
It's about making choices that align with our values. And in the case of Ron Sostenible, it seems like those values go beyond just, environmental responsibility. They encompass ethical production and social good as well.
Absolutely. And it doesn't hurt that the rum itself sounds pretty delicious. Yeah. I'm definitely adding Ron Sostenible to my list of rums to try. Which one do you think I should start with? I'm feeling adventurous.
Ooh, that's a great question. If you're looking for a real taste adventure, I'd say go for one of their cask-finished expressions.
Okay.
It would be a great way to experience how those different wood influences can really transform the flavor of the rum.
Okay, cask finished. It is now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to touch on something we mentioned earlier, that idea that Ron Sostenible is challenging this notion that sustainable options have to be boring or, less luxurious.
They're proving that sustainability can be exciting.
Yeah.
It can be innovative. It's not about sacrificing quality or enjoyment. It's about enhancing it through conscious choices.
Exactly. They've created a brand that tells a compelling story from the wind-powered journey to the ethically sourced sugarcane and that dedication to craftsmanship.
Yeah.
It's a story that resonates with people who are looking for something more than just, a drink. They're looking for an experience that aligns with their values.
It's powerful. It shows that consumers are becoming more discerning. They're aware of the impact of their choices. And brands like Ron Sostenible, they're creating products that are good for the planet, but are also, incredibly enjoyable.
It's like they're saying you can have your rum and drink it too and feel good about it.
Well said. And it's a message that's catching on. More and more people are paying attention. The demand for sustainable products is growing, and I think brands that ignore that demand are going to be left behind.
It's not just about doing the right thing anymore. It's good business sense.
Exactly. Sustainability isn't some niche market anymore. It's becoming mainstream, and that's a good thing for everyone, producers, consumers, the planet as a whole.
Can agree more. Okay, last question for you. We've talked a lot about Ron Sostenible and their practices, but I'm thinking bigger picture now. What are your thoughts on the future of sustainable spirits? Is this a trend that's here to stay, or do you think it's just a passing fad?
I truly believe it's here to stay. Consumer demand for transparency and ethical production is only going to grow.
Yeah.
People are realizing how interconnected everything is, and they want to support brands that reflect their own values.
So it's not just a trend, it's a real fundamental shift in how we think about consumption.
Yeah, you got it. And it's not just spirits either.
Wow.
We're seeing this across all industries, fashion, food, technology. Consumers are making their voices heard through their choices, and they're choosing sustainability.
That's encouraging to hear. Okay, one final thought before we wrap up. If you were to create your own sustainable spirit brand, what would be your top priorities? What values would you want to embody?
That's a good one. It really makes you think, doesn't it? For me, it would be all about transparency.
Yeah.
Letting people know exactly where everything comes from, how it's made, ethical sourcing, making sure that everyone involved is treated fairly, and giving back to the community. Those would be my pillars.
I love those values. It's about creating a brand that's not just about enjoying a drink, but also about making a positive impact on the world.
Exactly. And wouldn't it be wonderful if that impact went beyond just the environment, include social justice and economic empowerment as well?
Absolutely. It's about a holistic approach to sustainability where everyone benefits.
It's definitely a vision worth striving for.
I completely agree. Well, I think we've officially reached the bottom of our deep dive on Ron Sostenible. What a journey it's been.
It has been a pleasure exploring this brand with you.
I've learned so much about sustainable spirits, and I'm definitely feeling inspired to seek out more brands that are making a difference, really walking the walk.
And remember, every choice we make as consumers matters. So let's choose wisely. Let's support those brands that are aligned with our values.
Cheers to that. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Ron Sostenible.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not just a trend, no. It's a real fundamental shift in how we all think about consumption these days.
It's a good thing, too. Okay, one last thought before we wrap up. If you were to create your own sustainable spirit brand, what would be the top priorities? What values would you really want to embody in that brand? Ooh, wow, okay. That's a really good one. It really makes you think, doesn't it? For me, I think it would all have to start with transparency.
Mm-hmm.
Just letting people know exactly where every single ingredient comes from and how it's all made, no secrets.
Right.
And ethical sourcing, of course, making absolutely sure that everyone who's involved in the process is treated fairly, and then giving back to the community. I think those would be like my three main pillars.
I love that. It's about going beyond just enjoying a drink. It's about making a real positive impact,
Exactly. And wouldn't it be amazing if that impact went beyond just the environment, too? Like if it included things like social justice and economic empowerment.
Absolutely, yeah. It's about that holistic approach to sustainability where everyone benefits.
Oh, that's something worth striving for.
100%. Well, I think we've officially reached the bottom of our deep dive on Ron Sostenible. What a journey.
It really has. I've enjoyed it.
I've learned so much about sustainable spirits, and I'm honestly feeling really inspired to seek out more brands that are actually walking the walk.
And remember, every single choice that we make as consumers, it matters. So, let's all try to choose wisely. Let's support those brands that are trying to do things the right way.
Cheers to that. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Ron Sostenible.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.